Well, a very good morning to you and welcome back. You're still watching Morning Prime, but it is definitely a new dawn. Not just here at the Standard Group headquarters. Of course, a new show lineup will be coming your way since ever we did that relaunch just recently. And of course, today being Tuesday, we'll be focusing on education matters. So welcome to the broadcast. My name is Rodgers. Speaking of education matters, let's delve deeper into something that is usually overseen most times when we're talking about matters when it comes to early childhood development education in the country. Are there any issues that actually bedevil the early childhood teachers who play a very critical part in the education sector right here in the country? Speaking of, did you happen to know that ECDE teachers are currently under the county governments? That's according to the 2010 constitution. So when matters payroll come up, they don't look to the Teacher Service Commission like the other teachers. They definitely look to the county governments. And this has brought up a couple of challenges, including pay disparities that are noted county by county. I'm speaking of as high as 50,000 for one ECDE teacher in a county and as low as 7,000. So is there any way we can streamline these disparities? Remember, that's just one of the challenge facing early childhood development and education teachers in the country. They're under the county governments. So we'll definitely get to talk more about that. But remember, it being a Tuesday, the very last Tuesday of the month of November, we'll definitely bring you the proceedings live. It's a big day as we expect the State of the Nation address by President Uhuru Kenyatta, which will be his second last State of the Nation address just today afternoon. Even as we prepare to bring you those proceedings live from Parliament, remember just recently President Kenyatta talked a lot about education, so key interest will be in the construction of these extra classrooms as we transit from the 844 and actually look forward to 100% transition. Those are matters education, and we'll definitely highlight what the president has to say about not just matters education, but the state of the nation in general. I'd like us to begin with this particular story, painting a clear picture of some of the challenges facing pre-primary education teachers in the country who have protested unequal pay by counties, with some being paid as low as 7,500 per month, while others earn as much as 43,800 Kenya shillings. Now, Kenya Union of Pre-Primary Education Teachers, the national chairman, Lawrence Otunga, says the pay discrepancy among ECDE teachers needs to be addressed urgently, claiming the situation is partly to blame for the shortage of early childhood development and education teachers, as some are opting to quit the service for other lucrative jobs. Listen in.
Early childhood development education ECD is a critical stage in the learning journey of a child. It forms the basic and inaugural connection between the child and the teacher, who endeavors to introduce the child into the world of literacy with the primary intention of helping them adjust to the schooling journey and the expected future higher levels of academic achievements. Yet, even with that critical responsibility on their shoulders, ECD teachers feel the sub-sector is not getting the required attention.
That is why some of these teachers regret why they became early childhood teachers, because it is a sector which has been seen as a sector meant for failures. Yet these teachers are not failures. We are not failures. For you to have a TSC number, for you to seek for a national examination and pass, then you qualify for a diploma or a degree or master's. That's not something left for people who are not qualified. And you also realize that people look at ECD as a sector which is only meant for women.
Though streamlined and co-opted into the basic education structure for the first time, Kenya Union of Pre-Primary Education Teachers National Chairman Lawrence Otunga says besides other challenges facing the sub-sector, lack of a scheme of service for pre-primary teachers and other personnel in the sub-sector remains the biggest challenge. Meanwhile, poor remuneration and discrepancy has been cited as the reason for most ECDE teachers quitting and trading the service for other lucrative jobs. And although the latest numbers indicate that there are about 120,000 ECDE teachers registered by the TSC, the Ministry of Education Policy Brief report on the status of early childhood development in the 47 counties revealed that the number of ECDE teachers reduced by 22,472 between 2014 and 2019.
If you are not paid a decent salary, if you are not employed on permanent and pensionable terms, then what are you doing in that sector? They opt for a change in profession. And I've seen some of them quitting. Some of them have gone for other businesses. Some are working as house helps, some are farmers, and some have gone to the boda sector and other forms of employment. And you know, they have papers. We have teachers who are overqualified. We have teachers with masters, ECD teachers who are now having their PhDs.
Schedule 4 of the 2010 Constitution assigns management of pre-primary education to county governments. In 2018, the Ministry of Education rolled out the National Pre-Primary Education Policy, which replaced the National Early Childhood Development Policy of 2008 that was not aligned to the 2010 Constitution. However, individual county governments have been preparing their own ECDE bills disregarding the existing policy framework, and this poses a serious challenge on the ECDE sub-sector.
The early childhood sector is now being controlled under an act, the Early Childhood Education Act 2021, and this compels all the employers in the 47 counties to ensure that all these teachers are paid according to their qualifications and in consultation with the SRC, and all the terms of employment are improved.
With diploma teachers earning 43,800 shillings, certificate holders 35,700 and untrained teachers earning 26,400 shillings. Mandera County is the best paying county, followed by Garissa County, which pays diploma teachers 42,300, while certificate ECD teachers earn 35,000 shillings and untrained teachers 26,000. Meanwhile, in Embu, a diploma ECD teacher earns 37,000 shillings, while certificate holders earn 33,000. And in Nairobi, ECD teachers earn 33,000 shillings. The bottom 10 counties that pay poorly are Kericho, Baringo, Nyandarua, Nyeri, Makueni, Kirinyaga, Nandi, Kitui, Laikipia, and Uasin Gishu, which pay a flat rate of between 7,000 and 14,000 shillings, a teacher's qualification notwithstanding.
These employers always see the teachers as failures, as I said it before. They think that if they employ you as an early childhood teacher, it is a favor which has been done to you. So if you demand for a higher salary, then you better lose your job. So you must do what the employer wants. Personally, my first employment as an ECD teacher, I was being paid 1,000 Kenya shillings. And this money was coming to me through installments of 400, 200, 600, and like that. Then I had to go to look for a greener pasture, a school which was now giving me 2,000, a public school.
In private schools, however, the discrepancy in pay is huge, with some schools paying the teachers as little as 2,000 shillings. Nevertheless, many private schools pay their teachers between 20,000 and 30,000 shillings, with some international schools paying up to 150,000 shillings. Shadrach Miti, KTN News.
Well, Shadrach Miti definitely paints a clear picture of the pay disparities per county. Remember, the payment should be done with consultation with the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. We'll tend to find out if this is what is actually being done in the counties. So allow me to introduce my well-abled panel, educationists at their best, to the core. I'll start with the lady Dr. Teresa Mwoma, who's joining us. Asante sana for your time. She's a senior lecturer at the Department of Early Education and Special Needs, as well as the National Coordinator of ECDE Network Kenya and the Executive Director as well of Africa Council for Distance Education. Asante sana and good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having us this morning.
Asante for your time as well. We'll get to talk about some of the challenges facing the pre-primary education teachers. I'm equally joined by David Onyango Ochola. Asante sana for your time. Chief Executive Officer and the co-founder of the Competence Building Society of Early Childhood Education for Kenya. Good morning. Karibu.
Good morning, and thank you for having us this morning.
Okay, and thank you for your time. This is something that very few people get to talk about and highlight. Perhaps just off the bat, very briefly, starting with you, Ochola, why pay disparities, and is there a way we can actually solve it?
Thank you very much, Jesse. I think this issue of pay disparity, it has been a thorn discussion we started early in the year 2013.
Okay.
And at first we thought it was a policy issue and legislative. But later on, when we realized that it's something which can be done in a consultative way, we handed it over to the SRC and the Teacher Service Commission in consultation and partnership with the counties to work on it. And I can remember there was a time they developed a scheme of service, which was supposed to guide on how to pay. But still, it is an issue because we are missing the priority when it comes to the early childhood education sector in the counties. Because to me, if you read the Constitution 2010, the major sector or the major department when it comes to the devolved functions of the county on issues of education is the early childhood department. But again, you realize that most of the percentage of the budget allocation we are giving the counties, they're directing into the duplication work, which is being even done by the national government through the constituency development funds in terms of bursary to the high school and the university, forgetting the main function. So I think it needs what we call a political will as well, from the governors and the people at the county, so that they can realize the importance of having a good pay for these people.
Dr. Yes. We were just listening to what our reporter mentioned, and I just brought it up that some far-flung areas are actually recording better pay. Talk of Wajir, Mandera, those counties, better pay than perhaps the ones that are closer to Nairobi, you know. And why is this the case? And as is mentioned, there have been consultations time and time again. Are we closer to streamlining it?
Thank you so much, Jesse, for this opportunity. And I want to say that even before we delve into the pay imbalance, we would need to recognize the fact that Kenya, we have moved a lot of strides in terms of early childhood development and pre-primary school teacher training and employment. We are moving from a situation where 70% to 80% of our teachers were employed by the community, and only 20% were supported by the municipal council. Now we are moving to a situation where we are having 53% of the teachers, the pre-primary school teachers, who are being hired by the county government because of the devolution that happened in 2010 and it was implemented in 2013. So even when we see counties are paying 7,000, others are paying 43,000, we are moving from somewhere and we are heading somewhere, and we want to encourage our county government, because this is a devolved function. Being a devolved function, we want to encourage the county government to be able to recognize the level of training the teachers have gone through. You heard the chairman there saying that we have pre-primary school teachers with masters. We have pre-primary school teachers with PhD. I'm one of the pre-primary school teachers who was trained DSESE.
Yeah.
I've gone through the process. I now have PhD.
Okay.
Working at a different level, training these teachers.
I get you.
I still recognize myself as a pre-primary school teacher.
Yeah.
So what we are saying is that, yes, we have made great strides towards ensuring the county government is hiring teachers. But having disparities like Mandera and Teresa, paying teachers 43,000, 42,000, and then we have rich counties like Kericho, Nyeri, paying 12,000. Honestly, I think we are not serious.
And at times, it doesn't depend on your level of education.
Yes.
Irrespective of whether you have a diploma, certificate, or a degree, there's some counties that actually pay unilaterally.
Yes.
So these are some of the challenges we're getting to talk about. Just hold on to your thought, Daktari. Let's take a look at some of the information when it comes to early childhood education in the country. You might be asking yourself, what exactly is this? And mind you, there are definitely a lot of benefits when it comes to early childhood development. And perhaps, as you can see on your screen, what exactly is ECDE? That's exactly where we start. It's all about early childhood development education, and the official age in Kenya is between 3 and 5 years. Those are the ones that fall between the ECDE level, and it falls under the early learning and basic education department in the Ministry of Education, and is currently a devolved function. As we have mentioned, county budgets and implemented ECDE independently. This is due to the 2010 Constitution that assigned management of pre-primary education to county government. So that's exactly what ECDE is, pre-primary education. Let's take a look at the benefits of investing in early childhood development. One of them, better adjustment for later schooling. It definitely contributes to higher level of academic achievements. And in Kenya, just taking a look at the history, we started this journey in terms of ECDE in the early 1940s, where pre-primary education in Kenya was largely run by private individuals and institutions like churches. I happen to be a beneficiary of that, non-governmental organizations and local communities as well. But fast forward to 2018, the Ministry of Education rolled out the National Pre-Primary Education Policy, which replaced the National Early Childhood Development Policy that was not aligned to the 2010 Constitution. So that's in terms of some of the benefits and the history when it comes to ECDE. Let's talk about the government plans for ECDE just briefly under the 2030 vision goals. One of them is the establishment of ECDE resource centers in each county, including 3 feeder schools in each of the 9 pastoral counties. That's one point. The other being provision of capitation grants at 1,020 per child enrolled in public ECDE centers. And also a goal is the recruitment of 48,000 trained ECDE teachers across the country. Government will also develop a framework for identifying children, inherent abilities and talents, and aligning them to early childhood education and future professional training. So that's in terms of the plans we have under Vision 2030. What's the progress so far, you might be asking, in terms of implementation of the current policy? The ECDE policy reviewed and has been aligned with the 2010 Constitution, where teachers are currently recruited in the counties. We have that recruitment ongoing. County ECDE resource centers are supposed to have been established, and the enrollment in pre-primary 1 and 2 is actually ongoing as well. And we have the statistics there on your screen in terms of the percentage and the enrollment process. A lot of challenges, and that's what we were talking about earlier on, and not just in terms of the pay disparities, but if you take a closer look, rather, a lack of provision of skilled personnel to provide adequate care and simulation of pre-primary learners. There's a lack of a scheme of service for pre-primary teachers and other personnel in the sub-sector. Low staff morale and high attrition of trained teachers. We're talking about poor remuneration. That's one of the key issues we'll get to delve deeper into. Teacher management, of course, when it comes to children with special needs. That's one of the key components where children with special needs and their education still remains the responsibility of the national government. And the county governments are yet to develop a policy that will address the needs at the ECDE level. Those are some of the challenges facing the implementation of ECDE per county. And let's take a look at the pay disparities, because this is the heart of the matter we were trying to discuss today. What ECDE teachers earn from county to county. And if you can see it on your screen right now, the salaries do vary from county to county, as Shadrach Miti, our reporter, just enunciated earlier. Mandera County, diploma teachers getting 43,800, certificate teachers or certificate holders getting 35,700, while untrained teachers get 26,000. Now that's not too bad, but if you go to Garissa County, diploma teachers a little bit lower, 42,300, certificate teachers 35,000, and untrained teachers 26,000. As you can see, it varies from county to county. When we go to Kericho County, counties that are paying a flat rate despite the level of education by that pre-primary education teacher. Kericho, 8,000 Kenya shillings. That's a huge disparity compared to Mandera, that's paying up to 43,000. Nyeri, 12,650. That's what a teacher gets, a pre-primary education teacher. Laikipia County, 10,000. Nyandarua, 10,000. That's the flat rate. And Uasin Gishu County, 10,000 Kenya shillings. So that's the heart of the matter, as you can see, and those graphics will still be running on your screens, but it's up to the counties, because their responsibility lies with the counties when it comes to pre-primary education teachers. Daktari, let's continue with the conversation. We've definitely painted a clear picture of some of the challenges apart from pay. Perhaps you can start from there. At a policy point of view, we've learned that it's aligned to the 2010 Constitution, but what is the challenge when it comes to implementing from where you sit?
I think the challenge in terms of implementation of payment of teachers is the fact that we have not had capitation. You mentioned something to do with capitation of 10-20 per child. If that is done, then the schools will receive funds as per the number of children. But even when this comes, there must be a framework that indicates, out of all these funds that we have received, how much goes to the payment of teachers, how much goes to the teaching learning materials, how much goes to a feeding program for these children. If we had that, we will not have this challenge. And again, the discrepancy in terms of payment are existing because there is nobody who is overseeing what is happening in the county government. There is no framework. You know, like you talked of the devolution of this pre-primary. The national government is in charge of developing that policy, curriculum development, teacher training, and all that.
At the national level,
that is at the Ministry of Education level, they should be able to do that. But at the county government level, they are supposed to implement this policy. They are supposed to ensure that they have hired the teachers, they have paid them, they have provided teaching learning materials, feeding program, and the like. But there is a missing link. You talked about the 2017 ECDE policy and the 2018 guidelines. It clearly stipulates that we are supposed to have the National Early Childhood Education Committee under the Ministry of Education, which is there, and the ECDE Network for Kenya is a member of that. And we are supposed to have the County Early Childhood Education Committee, which is supposed to be at the county level to oversee this implementation of the pre-primary education. Implementation includes hiring and payment of teachers. And then at the national level, we are supposed to have that framework that dictates that if we are sending 200 million to a county for pre-primary education, how should this money be used? So if we have these checks and balances in place, then, for example, Kericho County will be able to explain why are you paying 8,000 when you are receiving, like, for example, 500 million for this. So that is what is missing. That is the missing link to oversee implementation. So there is also something that you mentioned, if you can allow me. The official age for pre-primary school is 4 years, according to the policy, according to the constitution, 4 and 5 years, PP1 and PP2.
Okay.
And also now the employment of the teachers is the county government responsibility. Yes.
And there's a missing link, as she's definitely gone deep into it. Perhaps you can talk about some of the solutions that are working in terms of your association and what you're doing, because we've heard of agitation from the teachers' side that they want to be included in the TSC payroll. We well know that the 2010 constitution stipulates otherwise, but is there any progress in terms of agitation on that front?
Yes, thank you very much. In support of what Dr. has just mentioned, I think the issue of disparity is coming because there's a missing link of coordination. And I remember very well, this is the starting point when we begin in 2013, immediately after the devolution. And we started into looking if there's issues to do with the policy and legislation. Indeed, we find there's an issue in terms of legislation, who should do what. And there was a question of first, who should employ teachers, because we know officially that in Kenya we have Teacher Service Commission, which is officially known body dealing with employment. But again, the question was, the sector has been devolved. Who is supposed to do in terms of employment, in terms of infrastructural development, and so on and so on. So we came up with an early childhood education bill in 2014. Unfortunately, because of the interest and the fight between the Council of Governors and the Senate and the national government, it didn't went through. And it was brought back again early last year, and I think the bill went through. This bill was giving a framework on areas of jurisdiction of every sector. And this is where we came up with the issue of scheme of service to guide on how to pay these teachers. And our organization has been advocating for these teachers to be under Teacher Service Commission. Because look, ECDE teachers in public schools, they're teaching under in a public school where we have an headmaster or headmistress. When it comes to the management issues, you realize there's a tag or a conflict of interest between the ECDE teacher, who is employed by the county and the national government employed teacher, who is the headmaster or the headmistress of a primary. So we wanted, and we requested, and we placed a proposal, but we find that it was a constitutional issue which needs a referendum for us to bring back these teachers under the Teachers Service Commission. Nevertheless, we said no. As we are pursuing this, let's sit down as all the stakeholders. The Council of Governors come in, the SRC comes in, the other stakeholders, including the Kenya National Union of Teachers and so on, so that we find an amicable way on how we can work on the remuneration of these teachers. But based on the political interest of each and every county, that's why this thing is happening. But the solution to end this issue of paying disparity, these teachers must be brought back under the Teachers Service Commission. And if we cannot do that, then we need to form a commission for them, which will guide and be responsible on the issues of payment. Otherwise, as we are continuing, we will still have those disparities. Because like Mandera, we all know issues to do with the northern corridor of this country. So they have to make it lucrative so that people will be interested to go and teach there.
So that's why the pay is higher?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons. If you go to Kericho, somebody is left wondering why Kericho paying 8,000 flat rate. Another issue which is causing this is lack of priority. I mentioned it earlier. The key priority of education in the devolved sector is early learning.
Yes.
And the county government is supposed to be in charge of one, ensuring there's enough resources in terms of human resource, infrastructure, and learning materials for these teachers. Which in this case, majority of the counties are not doing this. They are giving priority to tertiary, technical, and even to the secondary and primary and university, which is a duplication of the work being done by the national government. Okay. And this is where the issue of political goodwill was also coming in. Yeah, because we cannot address this thing if we don't have political goodwill. And we are doing too much politics on the issues of these children, forgetting that this is the future generation of the next level of education. If we don't give them a better foundation, and let me tell you, if you go to these other countries, especially to the Scandinavian, which we managed to take these country people to those countries so that they can learn and see what these people are doing. Yeah. The best paid teacher is the early childhood teacher. Reason? Because this is the foundation. This is where we do the final modeling for this child. We are creating the main starting point for the child future. Okay. So I think the only thing we have to do, if we want to help this issue of paying disparity, either to let it in the hands of the Teacher Service Commission, so these teachers be part and parcel of other teachers in the country. Correct. Or two, we create a separate commission for these early childhood teachers.
Okay. So we definitely need to get it right from the onset. Mtoto mleavo ndivyo akuavyo kabisa. So Dr. Mwoma, in terms of his take on the solutions, do you think there's a sense in that? Should we relook at the structure right now?
Thank you, Chese and David, for the proposals he has made. And he has made it clear that this is a constitutional issue. Sure. It's not something you will wake up one morning and say, now the Teacher Service Commission takes it up. But what is the role of the Teacher Service Commission in all this? They are supposed to, they do register the teachers who have trained in early childhood, whether they have trained in certificate, in diploma, in degree, and all that. Yeah. And that one, they are doing it very well. County governments are hiring teachers who have been registered by the Teacher Service Commission. So, in other words, they are speaking to each other and no one is contradicting. Although, in the figures that were given there, there was a count that was paying untrained teachers. Yes. So, I don't know who has recognized that to have untrained teachers to teach. But again, it's because of attrition. Many teachers who are qualified are not getting paid, so they move on and they look for other things to do. That is one. But I think my take would be that we need a national framework which is governed, I don't know, from Treasury to the Ministry of Education to the county level, which says we are giving this amount of money for the devolved functions. The devolved functions are pre-primary education, child care facilities, and then the vocational and training colleges, something like that. Under the early childhood, child care, and pre-primary education, how much is given? And when that money is given, how much should go where? Then the issue of coming up with capitation. Nairobi County, by the way, is started practicing capitation. They give each child, and those with special needs are given a little more. Yeah. So if we can have that capitation and the money is channeled to schools with the guidelines on what should be used for this money, that way teachers will be paid well according to their training. And also another thing is the fact that there is the terms of reference for the pre-primary school teachers, which is supposed to align their payment with all the other public servants. If that is implemented, and I guess that is what the two counties are implementing, then we will not have issues. We are just coming from the 4th National ECDE Stakeholders Conference, which we held in Siaya, and we invited all CECs, directors in education and health, because we were discussing issues to do with the early childhood. Turkana County, we gave county governments, those who were there, we had representation from 23 counties. So they were giving the strides they have taken in their counties. For example, Turkana County, they reported that they have hired 85 graduate teachers who have graduated with bachelors. And the payment they do is disaggregated according to your level of training. So that is what we want to see happening in our schools. People should remember that the foundation of learning, future learning, starts early. And unless we have qualified personnel to implement this, we are not going to form that foundation. They say If you want to change the story, change the beginning. If we change the beginning, we inculcate the right values, we recognize the efforts that are put to give this foundation, then we are going to have successful learners. A few minutes ago, you gave the importance of early childhood and the advantages of having that early learning. Children will stay in school longer. Those who have gone through pre-primary school, they will pass through the different levels. But those who have not, they will either drop somewhere because they are not able to hold on in the education sector. And they can only do that if we have teachers who are qualified to give that firm foundation. If we give those teachers the tools they require in terms of teaching, learning materials, give those children a feeding program so that they are energetic, they are able to participate. And then in 20 years coming, we will be having a generation of adults who were given a firm foundation, who are productive in the country, and then we will change the story.
Definitely.
Yes.
Ochola, as you definitely join on what she's saying, we brought up the issue of high attrition. Is it all pegged with matters pay, or there are also other challenges that your association is definitely trying to put in the forefront? And as you speak about that, let's talk about special needs, children with special needs. Earlier on, I highlighted that they are under the national government. Have the counties aligned in terms of policy and implementation to make sure that they address the needs of these special needs children at the ECDE level?
Thank you, Daktari, for bringing up the issue of the two bodies, Kenya National, Teacher Service Commission, together with the county. Yes, indeed, they do register these teachers, and the county is hiring. You see, there's an issue here. Why are you registered and you're not hiring? And why are you hiring and you're not registering? That is where we come in with the issue of policy and legislation issue. Yeah, so that we streamline and put a proper framework on who should do what. And this is where we propose, and it has been our proposal every year, that we let it go. They register and they hire. The county government trains and allocates. And
allocates,
That's, if we do that way, then we will not hear somebody paying 43,000 shillings.
But to do that, we need a referendum, is it?
No, there's some things which we might do at a legislation level. Yeah, and there's some which will be, like now, if we want to do with the issue of responsibility, then we have to go to a constitutional mandate and see if it is a devolved function for the county, up to what level. Then up to what level the national government. It's the same like issue of health, which is disturbing. It is a devolve, and yet the national government still holding a bigger amount and chunk of money in terms of health issues.
I get you.
Now, when it comes to the special need, yes, some counties have started well, like I see in Kisumu County, I've been seeing in Mombasa County, I've seen even in Nairobi County. We visited Mkuru kwa Ruben, and I saw how they have put systems for the special need, but we still need to do more. That is, you know, my organization deals with issues to do with political and legislative and policy framework issues.
Yeah. Just allow me to cut you short. We'll come back and allow you to finalize on your point. Daktari, just buffer up on matters to do with special needs under the ECDE levels. Yeah.
You see, if we start categorizing children that you are special needs and you are in this age limit of 0 to 8 years, that you are under the national government, I think that is not the right thing, because when we train these teachers, we give them courses, we offer courses that equip them with knowledge and skills of enabling them to identify children who could be having special needs and be able to provide an environment that is conducive for them to be able to learn with the others. And in the event that they are not able to support these children, they are supposed to refer them to assessment centers, which are in the different counties, to be able to see if they have serious challenges, they can be supported to the right institutions. But my take is that the children with special needs should not be categorized that this is for national. They should be handled if they are at the ECDE level. And remember, it depends on the magnitude of the disability. You can have, like for pre-primary normal children, we talk of 4 and 5 years, pre-primary 1, pre-primary 2. But a child with the special needs, you will find an 8-year-old child in pre-primary 1 or pre-primary 2. So the teachers should be supported in such a way that they are able to be helped to learn like others. What that means, when the county government is allocating resources to support this child with special needs, they should ensure or identify which schools have these children, what kind of disability they have. Is it hearing? Is it sight? Is it physical? To make the environment child-friendly to people with rails where they can walk around, or to provide materials that can enable that child with vision be able to learn. So it is the responsibility of the county government to take care of all children under their mandate to be able to acquire the knowledge and skills that they require. But again, as David indicated, it is important to understand, okay, what the Constitution had in mind in terms of the roles of the county government and the national government. For example, the national government, as we said, policy is their role. Teacher training is their role. Curriculum development is their role. Examination is their role. Legislation is their role, okay? But the county government comes, for example, once there is an act, for example, like now we have the Early Childhood Education Act 2021, which is providing guidance on what should happen at the pre-primary education level, okay? County governments, depending on their individual differences, because a county in the pastoralist community would be experiencing different challenges than a county in Central or in Nyanza. So they should be able to customize that to fit their situation, to ensure that these children are getting the services that they require. But when it comes to children with special needs, every county should ensure all schools under their mandate have the required facilities, have the required resources to support these children to learn.
Okay, and that's very important to highlight. So as we finalize on that, just briefly, Daktari, are the counties aligned in terms of what their functions really are? And as we finalize, Pierre, let's talk about ECDE teachers and going forth. He's talked about some issues to do with the functions of the national government, functions of county government. Going forward, what needs to be done in order to make it streamlined, perhaps?
Number one, we must implement the pre-primary education guidelines of 2018 by coming up with the County Early Childhood Education Committee to oversee implementation of this pre-primary education. I know that has issues in the different forums where we have discussed. They will say, oh, then what will be this committee doing, and what will be the county education board doing? That notwithstanding, if we are implementing the policy that we are proud of, it has come to place, let us implement it to the latter. Come up with a county early childhood education with the different representation as highlighted in that county, so that we are able to support our schools at the county level.
Well noted. Dr. Ochola, as we finalize, I've called you Dr. Let me take that back. Ochola, as we finalize, perhaps... Amen. As we finalize, what do we need to do, perhaps?
I think, as Dr. Teresa said, first, if it is an issue of implementation, Kenya is good in making policies and legislation, acts. We have them. Those papers are best. In fact, we are the best country with better legislation when it comes to putting things on pen and paper. But now the problem is implementing. We need to implement, one, the act. We must implement this act before we go forward. Two, the County Early Childhood Education Bill, Senate Bill 2018, must be implemented and realigned with other county bills which has been made in various assemblies. 3, I think it is high time we must reconsider the issue of who should employ these teachers. And according to my proposal, which I said it and I still stand with it, we have to let it go to the Teacher Service Commission to employ these teachers. They cannot be registering and not employing them. This will end the disparity in terms of salary and remuneration. Okay. And it will bring an harmonization whereby we will be classifying them the same way we have classified other teachers in arid and semi-arid areas, hardship areas, and so on and so on.
Okay. Okay.
Then 3, we must look onto issue of training. Counties must start training these teachers. Let's forget about running to these other sectors and giving bursaries to these other departments. We must come back and start looking on the issue of training of early childhood teachers. Okay. Then finally, the special need children. They are children like other children. And this issue of, putting them aside in their own schools, and they need to mingle and be together. Right. What we need to do is to ensure that we have enough staffing and professionalism when we are handling them so that they grow together with the society.
All right. Well, and, a lot needs to be done.
Finally, okay. We need a political will.
As well, yes, you mentioned.
From both the national government and the county for this sector to grow.
Okay, well, a lot needs to be done clearly, and I think this is just the beginning of the conversation. When we talk more and we highlight some of these challenges, I think both the Ministry of Education, TSC, and some of the counties that are watching are actually aligned. Thank you so much for your time. Let me start with you, David Onyango Ochola. I called him Doctor today. He's the Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of the Competence Building Society of Early Childhood Education for Kenya, and we're also joined by Dr. Teresa Mwoma, highly versed when it comes to early education and special needs matters, a senior lecturer at Kenyatta University, but also the national coordinator at ECDE Network Kenya and the executive director of Africa Council for Distance Education. So this is what you can expect in the new look KTN News. We'll definitely have focused conversation, deep dive analysis into pertinent issues when it comes to matters education, not just politics and not just sports as well. But remember, the top story for today, all eyes are in Parliament, even as expectations are quite high, as President Uhuru Kenyatta is set to deliver his second State of the Nation address later today afternoon. Now, President Kenyatta's address comes at a time when the country is grappling with the effects of the global COVID-19 pandemic, the ailing economy, election campaigns hitting fever pitch, and the courts putting brakes on the push to amend the Constitution through the Building Bridges Initiative, better known as BBI. The head of state is expected to bring the country up to speed with his administration's commitments as provided for in Article 132 of the Constitution in his 8th address to Parliament. We'll definitely air you those proceedings live. Keep it KTN News. The show continues. I might be taking a break right now. My name is Rodgers. Thank you so much for watching this education segment on Morning Prime. Up next, News Diary. Stay with us.